You're listening to the Harmony of We, a space for remembering what we already are together. I'm Greg Kuiper, counselor, author, and fellow traveler in this ongoing field of being human. This podcast isn't about fixing. It's not about getting relationships right. It's about coming into resonance with yourself, with each other, and with the presence that lives in between. This is where the book Relationship, the Harmony of We continues in breath, in story, and in shared awareness. Welcome. I'm glad you're here today. In the last few episodes, we've been moving closer and closer to something essential. We explored how patterns form, how autopilot takes over, often without us realizing it, how emotional awareness begins to wake us up from those patterns, and how safety allows vulnerability to emerge. But when vulnerability appears, something else is needed for connection to deepen, because vulnerability on its own is an opening. And what happens next matters, whether that opening grows or quietly closes. It depends on something very subtle. Attunement. Attunement is not a technique. It's not something you perform. It's not a set of words you memorize. It's a way of being with another person. A kind of presence that says, I'm here with you, not just physically, but emotionally, energetically. And as you hear that, you might even notice something in your own body, what it feels like to be with someone who is really there with you, not distracted, not rushing, not preparing their response, just there with you. Attunement is the ability to sense what is happening inside another person and to respond in a way that lets them feel felt, not just understood, but felt. There's a difference. You've probably had moments where someone understood your words, but something still felt off, like they got the content, but not you. And you may have also had moments, maybe fewer, but they stand out, where someone didn't just understand you, they felt you. They stayed with you. They didn't rush past what you were saying. They didn't turn it into advice or explanation or correction. They met you. And when that happens, something in you settles. You don't have to push to be understood. You don't have to clarify or defend. You can just be. Attunement is when that happens. It's when someone doesn't miss you. They get you. Most of us learned about attunement through its absence, not in big dramatic moments, but in small, ordinary ones. You say something that matters. Maybe you didn't even plan to say it. It just comes out, something real, something a little vulnerable. And for a moment, you're open. And then the response comes back, slightly off, too fast, too logical, too focused on fixing or explaining, or moving past what you just said. And nothing obvious is wrong. There's no conflict, no harsh words, but something inside you shifts almost immediately. You may not have words for it. You may not even register it consciously. But the body knows. There's a small closing, a small pulling back. Maybe your shoulders tighten just a little. Maybe your voice changes. Maybe you say, it's fine. or never mind, and move on. But what actually happened is this: a moment opened and then it closed. And the feeling that lingers is quiet but familiar. I wasn't met. Now, imagine that same moment again. You say something that matters, something real, something a little vulnerable. And again, there's a pause. But this time the pause feels different. It's not empty, it's not rushed. It feels like the other person is actually taking you in. They look at you, they stay. And when they respond, it's slower, softer, more connected to what you just shared. Maybe they say something simple like, "Yeah, I can feel that. That sounds really hard." Or, "I'm really glad you told me that." And nothing about it is complicated. Nothing about it is perfect. But something inside you shifts in a completely different way. Your body softens. Your breath deepens. You don't feel the need to explain yourself further or defend what you meant. You feel received. Instead of pulling back, you open a little more. You say, you stay there because something in you recognizes I'm not alone in this moment. That's attunement. The difference between those two moments isn't the words, it's the presence. So let's imagine sitting with someone. Maybe it's late in the evening, the day is winding down. You've been carrying something quietly for a while. Not urgent enough to bring up right away, but present enough that it hasn't left you. And finally, you say it. I've been feeling a little overwhelmed lately. There's a pause. Just a moment where the words are still in the air. And in that moment, there's a kind of openness, a small risk, because you don't know how it will be received. And then the response comes quickly. Well, maybe you just need to manage your time better. And again, nothing overtly wrong was said. There's no anger, no criticism, but something inside you shifts almost instantly. Because what you shared wasn't really about time management. It was about how you've been feeling. And instead of being met in that feeling, the moment moved away from it. And the body registers that subtly, quietly. Your chest tightens a little, your breath changes. Maybe you nod. Yeah, maybe. And just like that, the moment begins to close, not dramatically, not in a way anyone could point to, really, but something real that was trying to come forward stays just beneath the surface. Now, let's imagine that same moment again, same evening, same feeling, same words, right? I've been feeling a little overwhelmed lately. And again, there's a pause. But this time, the pause feels different. It's not empty. It's not rushed. It feels like the other person is actually taking you in. They look at you, they stay with you. There's no immediate response, no correction, no movement away. And then gently they say, that sounds like a lot. Do you want to tell me more about what's been weighing on you? And something shifts, not in your thoughts, in your body. Your shoulders soften. Your breath deepens. You feel yourself exhale without realizing you were holding it. Because now, the moment you didn't move away from you, it stayed with you. And because it stayed, you can stay. You don't have to defend what you meant. You don't have to translate your experience into something more acceptable. You can just continue. And maybe you say, yeah, I think I've been feeling like I can't keep up lately. And now you're not just talking, you're sharing because something in you recognizes I'm being met. That's attunement. The difference between those two moments isn't the words, it's what happens in the space between them, in the we. Attunement has a felt quality. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to wonder if it's happening. You know it. You feel it. It feels like being able to finish your sentence without rushing, without someone stepping in too quickly, without the sense that you need to get to the point before the moment is lost. It feels like not being interrupted or redirected or gently pulled somewhere else. It feels like not needing to defend your experience, not needing to explain why you feel the way you feel, because something in the other person is already allowing it, already making room for it. It feels like something staying with you just long enough for what's real to emerge. Not hurrying the moment, not trying to improve it, just staying. And when that happens, you notice something in your body. Your breath deepens, your shoulders soften, the tension you didn't realize you were holding begins to release. Your words come more easily, not perfectly, but honestly. Your guard lowers without effort, without making a decision, and something deeper begins to move between you, a sense of connection, a kind of quiet coherence. Like the space between you is holding both of you at the same time. And in that space, you don't have to work to be understood. You're already being met. Attunement sounds simple, but it's not easy because most of us are just, we're not listening to the person in front of us. We're also listening through everything we've lived, our own patterns, our own histories, our own internal noise. Sometimes it's subtle, a thought in the background. I need to respond to this. That's not what I meant. Here's what they should do. Sometimes it's faster than thought, a tightening in the body, a sense of urgency, a need to move the moment somewhere else. So we hear something, and almost instantly, something inside us begins to move. We interpret it, we organize it, we prepare a response, we try to fix it, or we protect ourselves from it. Maybe we shift the focus without even realizing it. And all of that happens so quickly that we don't even notice we've left the moment. But the other person does. Not consciously, maybe, but their nervous system feels it. Because instead of being met, they're now alone again in what they were sharing. And this is how attunement is missed, not because we don't care, but because something in us moved away too quickly, automatically. Attunement begins with the shift inside, a slowing down, a softening of our own urgency. Because before we can meet another person, we have to notice what's happening in us. The impulse to respond, the pull to fix, the discomfort of staying with something we can't immediately resolve. And instead of following that impulse, we pause. We pause just slightly. And in that pause, something opens. We move from, what do I say next, to what is happening inside this person right now? From how do I fix this to how do I stay with this? We move from how do I make this better to what is this moment asking of me? And that shift isn't dramatic, it's quiet, but it changes everything. Because now you're no longer relating from your reaction. You're relating from your presence. That requires letting go of the need to be right, the need to solve, the need to manage the moment, even the need to be helpful, and allowing yourself to simply be there, to listen, to feel, to stay. And when you do, something subtle begins to happen. The other person feels it. They feel that you haven't moved away. And because you stayed, they can stay too. Let's return to the couple we've been following in these episodes. It's quiet, maybe later in the evening. There's a kind of distance in the room that hasn't been spoken about yet, but both of them can feel it. She says quietly, I feel like we haven't been close lately. The words hang there, not loud, not sharp, but vulnerable. There's something underneath them, a reaching, a risk. And he feels it immediately. That tightening in his chest, that familiar surge, the urge to defend, to explain, to correct the perception, to say, that's not true. Because somewhere inside it lands as, I'm failing. I'm not enough. I'm being blamed. And for a moment, the old pattern is right there, ready. The next line already forming, the reaction already moving. But this time, something interrupts it. He notices the feeling in his body, the tightness, the heat, the impulse, and instead of moving with it, he pauses. Just a breath. Not a big dramatic pause, just enough. Enough to stay in the moment instead of leaving it. And in that small space, something shifts. He leans slightly forward, not aggressively, not performatively, just a little closer. And he says, can you tell me what not close has been feeling like for you? She looks at him. And there's a brief moment of uncertainty because this is the moment she's used to things turning the other way, defensiveness, distance, disconnection. Her body's waiting for that. But it doesn't come. Instead, he's still there, present, open. And slowly, something in her begins to soften. Her shoulders drop just slightly. Her breath changes because she can feel it. He didn't move away. He stayed. And now she can stay too. Hmm. And she says, it feels like I'm alone, even when we're together. That lands. And this time, instead of reacting, he lets it in. He feels the weight of it, not as accusation, but as something real she's been carrying with her. And there's a moment where he could still turn away. He could still protect or explain, but he doesn't. He stays. I didn't realize that, he says. I'm really glad you told me. And something shifts between them. Not in a dramatic way. There's no big resolution, no sudden clarity, but something real. The distance softens. The space between them feels different, more open, more alive. And for the first time in that moment, they're not standing on opposite sides of a problem. They're inside something together. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough for connection to begin again. That's attunement. When attunement is present, the we comes alive. The space between two people becomes responsive, connected, safe enough to stay open. Because attunement communicates something very simple, very powerful. You're not alone in this. You're not alone in this. And when that message lands, everything changes. The next time someone shares something with you, pause. Let their words land. Notice your impulse to respond or fix or explain. And just for a moment, set that aside and ask yourself, what might they be feeling right now? And then respond to that, not perfectly, just honestly. Even a small movement toward attunement can shift the entire moment. Attunement is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more present, more available, more willing to stay. It's the quiet art of allowing another person's experience to matter without immediately turning away from it. And when two people begin to meet each other in this way, something deeper than communication begins to form. Connection. In the episodes ahead, we'll continue exploring what supports and deepens this connection. But for now, notice the moments when you feel truly met. And notice the moments when someone else may be reaching and waiting to be met by you. Because often, connection isn't something we create. It's something we allow. See you next time.